Hello, welcome to Matters of Decorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Just riffing on an idea today. I had an idea for a bad guy, fantasy bad guy, Dungeons and Dragons campaign villain. I wanted to deal with something that's a little bit less esoteric, more esoteric and less esoteric at the same time. This is my brain today. So sometimes you want a bad guy that can be dealt with, that can be reasoned with. Sometimes you want something that can, maybe they're just misguided. Maybe there's a way that you can convince them of the error of their ways and things are going to be better, even as a campaign villain. And you can have one of those more emotional, more relationally satisfying endings. And that's not the kind of villain I want to come up with. Sometimes you need a villain who just needs to be made gone. Someone who is unrepentant and difficult to deal with, and who is doing evil because they decided to do evil, and it's all black and white. You're a hero, they're a villain, they need to die, and you happen to be here with a sword. So something more like that. Not that I want them to be easy to take out, but I'd like that to be the goal. So let's do someone high up there, someone worthy of being a campaign villain. It could be a story arc, but more likely a whole campaign. A king. And let's make an evil king. I like evil king campaigns. It could be an evil queen campaign, evil king campaign. Either or, it really doesn't matter. The concept behind them can be applied all around the board. Whatever suits your taste or your campaign as you see fit. They're dead. They're dead. They died a long time ago, and now they are a ghost. But it's more complicated than that. A ghost could be banished or harmed with magical weapons, and they're just not. They're easy enough to dispatch, no matter how evil they are. It can be a specter. But 1,000 years ago, we're going to go back 1,000 years so we can have some ruins and some history and some time. I don't even know the name of the villain. The name unimportant works for you folks. 1,000 years ago, this ruler determined that they were. I'm going to go with king, just because that's how my brain is working at the moment. Again, remember, this is all variable. You can apply it to your campaign. And why they don't have a name, I'll get to that. Or at least why I'm not giving them a name. You need to give them a name. But it'll fit. Trust me. 1,000 years ago, this king decided that there was no one he could trust. He didn't have enough family that he could assign them to counties and duchies. He didn't have enough trusted advisors or friends, far be it. They wanted their power over the land to be as absolute as it could. If they could themselves just go to every area of the kingdom and command it themselves, that would be fine. But that really wasn't feasible. But conspiring with dark necromancers and other esoteric individuals, they managed to come up with a solution. Started with an iron golem, because iron golems are really, really rough. Had one made in his image, and had a piece of his own soul put into it. It wasn't a pleasant process, but what the hell, it worked. And now that thing is a part of him. It communicates with him directly, instantaneously, no matter how far apart they are. And it will never do anything outside of the king's interest, because it's their interest as well. This being is the first of the Iron Dukes. Is given a fifth section of the kingdom to rule, and the king makes 4 more. The 5 Iron Dukes. Stopped at 5 because that was when he realized he had no soul left to give. He had dispatched his entire soul to be used in the construction of the Dukes. Didn't care, wasn't planning on dying anytime soon, and didn't really care for the use of a soul anyway. It was safer in the Dukes, he supposed. The 5 Iron Dukes ruled with their literal iron fists, doing everything the king needed done. Seeing to it that the materials that the king needed flowed to the king supported them as though he was supporting himself because he was. It worked out beautifully for an evil, terrible kingdom that had to end someday. The king died. He just wasn't paying attention to the things that could kill him and, well, probably diet. It might have been poison from within the castle. He didn't trust people for a reason, after all, but he's dead. Why and how the king died, unimportant, the fact that it didn't take. His soul was anchored to the prime material plane because it had been divided into the iron golems who served as his continuing anchors. He's a ghost anchored to the prime material, and they tried to banish him, and he couldn't be banished because he belongs here. And too ephemeral, too immaterial to even be affected by weapons. His will and his voice remain in this place, this wispy image of the king moving through the castle. But ghosts can't stay awake for long, or at least not this ghost. It was exhausting to be a ghost, so he went to sleep. And when he went to sleep, so did the Iron Dukes. They each found a place that they had crafted places for themselves that had heat inside a volcano, or places with a portal to the elemental realm of fire, where they do their banking. We'll get to that. And they sat in their giant stone thrones and went to sleep. The fire sustaining them, keeping them hot enough that they continually regenerated. There's no rust, there's no malfunctions, no difficulties with their structure. They're just sleeping, waiting. And our campaign starts when someone wakes up the king. Some necromancer goes looking through the ruins at the castle or someplace else. Someplace away from the capital, the current capital of the kingdom, whatever you're living in at the moment. But wherever you folks are based, the name of that country, it's probably the name of the king. It's still named after him. He's still, even after all this time, but a lot of other stuff about it has been lost. You don't want to remember the bad things about a ruler, now do you? Necromancer breaks into the castle and discovers there is a presence of some undeath there and throws a little magic into it. See if you can't wake it up a little bit. Have a conversation with it. Which was a mistake because the king consumes him. The king consumes him entirely. Everything he knows about the modern day, every ounce of energy in his body drains him down to the last iota, and the king is awake. The king is awake and sustained, and now he's pissed because his kingdom, his name may have lasted, but nothing else about him. His kingdom, his plans, all the organization he had out there, gone. But not for long. He wakes up the Dukes. The Dukes have resources. As I said, they're banked on the elemental plane of fire, and their account has been gaining interest for 1,000 years. There is a pool of gold, molten gold, that the Dukes each have a amulet, which is a portal to. They can just pour out some quantity of molten gold, and they start using this resource to hire people. They go out, find bandits, some folks living on the fringe, the people who don't mix in that well, and, well, if they need to beat someone up in order to get compliance, they can do that. They're iron golems, and if they can just hold out a handful of little golden rods poured straight out of their bank account and say, "Is this enough to make you do what I want?" They've got the beginnings of their forces. They'll find someone who can go find people. They want a couple of levels of separation. The Iron Dukes will give this to someone who can go, some slimy bard type fixer kind of person who's going to go hire bandits. Why? Because the old king wants to be the current king, and he's going to try and destabilize the government starting off with some simple crime. Bandit raids increase. There are bandit raids across the land. They're importing bandits. There's more bandits than you thought there were. Why are these bandits doing this? They seem really well equipped. Player characters get involved at this point. Well, we got bandits we got to deal with, and who are they working for? Well, you can track that guy down to this one guy, this one slimy fixer, kind of slimy bard person, and, well, if you beat them up enough, you get to go fight the Iron Duke. First Iron Duke fight is going to be rough. Because he's an Iron Golem, of course it's going to be rough. And they're in a place, they're probably going to have a fight in the Iron Duke's place. He's not leaving his throne room, his little duchy office, where he has fire all over the place, so even in the middle of a fight, he can stumble over into a roaring flame, take some dice of fire damage to regenerate from, and get back into it. So party is going to have to fight that tactically. And once that Iron Duke has been dealt with, there is enough carvings and writings in metal books that can withstand time and heat in there to let them know who that Iron Duke worked for, who the king is, the old king. And also that there are other Iron Dukes. Now, the Iron Dukes were made sequentially. They were made as an iterative process. So the first one's going to be like an Iron Golem straight out of the monster manual. Just maybe a few more intelligence points because the king's intellect does infuse them to a certain degree. And maybe with a magic hammer, something rough to deal with. So the Iron Golem itself isn't rough enough to deal with. The next one's going to be a harder fight. The one after that, even harder. You can fight your way through the Iron Dukes if you choose to. But that last Iron Duke, the fifth Iron Duke, is going to be very difficult. Roughly twice as difficult as the first one. And the characters are if they survived the fight with the first one, they're probably not leveled for the second or for the fifth. So they could fight through it, or they could just go confront the king. And confronting the king gives them a problem because he can't be confronted, while his soul is still divested in any measure through his dukes. The king is impossible to beat. Just too immaterial. Just, you kill one of those dukes, the first one that got killed, king's looks a little more solid, has an appearance that matches his old self, but still an inviolate, immaterial ghost. Not even magic weapons can touch him. Try to banish him, he belongs here. It's very rough to deal with that king. And his castle is going to have developed layer actions by this point in time. He attacks with his castle. He can't attack directly himself. No magic attacks, no psionics. He's just a ghost. He can just talk to them and perceive them and learn about them. And he can attack them with his castle. Lashing them with chains or traps in the castle can spontaneously activate. Maybe you can just drop rocks on folks from time to time. The castle is a rough fight, and it will repair itself if it is damaged. If you knock a wall out of the castle, take the castle down a little bit, you might be able to get out through that hole, but next time you see the castle, it's fine. The castle heals, practically regenerates. Because it is powering itself off of the inviolate's ghost of the king. King can talk to the player characters, though. And yeah, he's an evil king, and he's planning on doing evil when he comes back, and he's pretty open about that. But would it be that much worse than what you're dealing with? Look, you people managed to take out my Iron Duke. That is not a small feat. I do not trust you because I can't trust anyone really, but I respect your ability to deal with a problem. I have a tremendous amount of gold, and you seem capable. How'd you like to work for me? It's a classic offer from the villain, and I don't know what the world that you're going to run this in is like. Maybe the king is, the ruler of the current land is already pretty darn evil. Maybe there's a problem there. Maybe there's difficulties with the government. It's not taking care of the people the way it should. Well, I'll take care of the people. I need people to be able to conquer. I need to build armies. I can't do that off of a weak population. I love my people because they're the best tool I will ever have. I hate other people's people, and well, maybe you do too. Why don't we go to war? Help me build an army. The king is going to make them an offer, and chances are, well, he's an evil king, and the party's going to walk away from that and go see what they can deal with, because they've got some clues now, having dealt with the king. Or maybe not, and then the king's a patron. I'm not going to tell you not to have your party follow the evil king. It's up to your player characters at this point in time. Worse things have happened in my games. Okay, so you're working for the campaign villain. New campaign, have fun. If they don't take the king's offer, the king talked about his Iron Dukes more than once during those conversations, and, well, a couple of insight rolls, yeah. King is that invested in his Iron Dukes. You got to deal with the Iron Dukes. If you deal with the Iron Dukes, the king becomes vulnerable. You have to go fight the Iron Dukes. It's just you got to do the round of 4 more duchies, 4 more Iron Dukes. The people that they surround themselves with, the buildings that they have built full of fire for them to heal in and operate in, and they're getting increasingly powerful, more hit points, higher armor class, more damage as you go from Duke to Duke until you hit the last one, and that's going to be a bear. They've got these amulets that draw gold. The player characters can't do that. You got to have the soul of the king to use that amulet, and well, you don't have the soul of the king. The amulets are pretty valuable in and of themselves. The dukes have some treasure. They got gold they poured out, whatnot, but that big bank account, you don't have access to that. That's fine. There's plenty of treasure to be had, plenty of experience to get, plenty of levels to pick up, because you got to go deal with the king. And dealing with the king when the 5th Iron Duke has been taken out is not that bad. Now he's a standard, maybe a Spectre twice as difficult as your average Spectre. The castle still has lair actions and it's kind of angry now, so the lair actions have fire involved in them. And it's a fight, but the king cannot be taken out by magic weapons, which the Iron Dukes had in abundance. So that would be the end of the campaign. The king will make one more offer. We can still make this work. I'll make those amulets work for you. I'll give you gold to do the job that you need to do. All you've got to do is swear fealty to me in a very binding manner, but we will conquer the lands around us. I can promise you that. They take the offer again. The evil Spectre King is now their campaign patron, and they need to, the next campaign is working for him. They need to work a little bit harder to protect him because now he's vulnerable. Or they take him out. They take him out, they get the treasure in the castle. The castle loses its animate nature once the king is dead, because it was powering itself off his soul. Because the soul has been divested from the golems, the king can now free to go under the 9th hell. He's done. And all the evil that he has ever done and all the sins against nature he has ever committed catch up with him, damned. And, well, now you've got a castle. It's not going to heal itself anymore, but it is in one piece, pretty strong. It used to be the place that the land was ruled from, and it's got some treasure, and congratulations, you have beat the campaign. Look for the next one. Yeah, that actually feels pretty good. I could drag that out into, I don't know that's going to be a 0 to 20 campaign, but that's a campaign that's going to get you 5, 6, 7, 8 levels maybe, depending on where you start. You can start pretty low down. You'll want to pick up a couple of levels before you deal with the Iron Golem. A big enough party can deal with that Iron Golem as long as you do it tactically. You might want to be a higher level before you really get involved in that, but I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I've seen lower level. I had a group of level 5 paladins deal with one. They had a couple of tricks in their sleeve, but yeah, it's possible. Well, tell me what you think about this one. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you did enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think. If you would run something like this, or what tweaks you would do to this to make it operate, how do you picture these things being shaped or what they look like? Questions you'd like to hear me answer, things you'd like to hear me talk about, leave me a comment down below. I will love getting your comment, and you'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. You might want to hit the subscribe button. If you do, go ahead and hit the notification bell so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to my channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum. Consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me. I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.